Marshall Knows Stuff. I'm Marshall, and I know stuff. Stick around and I'll show you how to know some of the stuff that I know. Last episode of Marshall Knows Stuff, we made this sweet Viking axe. It's a sweet axe, or back that axe up, or whichever other innuendo you want to use on axe. And it's a pretty cool piece so far, but I really want to make it pop. So, from the very start, I've planned on etching this, maybe get some cool designs in there, and that's what I plan on doing in this one. This episode of Marshall Knows Stuff, we're going to do part 2 of our Viking axe, etching. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to polish it up, because when we etch it, it's going to recess the surface of the axe, and I want the surface, the very top of it, to really pop. I want it to be nice and shiny, so that recess part of it makes it stand out. I've already started on that side. You can see it's a lot more polished than that side, and I just threw the buffing wheel, that little sisal wheel, onto my grinder, and used some white compound. So now I'm going to hit this other side with the buffer and just kind of give it a nice clean polish. First step in getting this thing to really pop. Once again, I'm really happy that I left myself this little extra meat on the pole, because it's giving me something to hold on to with the vise whenever I'm going through and polishing this. I think it'd be a good idea to leave that on just about any axe that you do, because it's giving you a nice rugged surface to where you can pinch it, grab it, grasp it, beat it up a little bit. And that's what I'm going to do. On the last side, on this polished side, that's exactly what I did. So I'm going to throw it on this other side, pinch it in the pole, and get to working. And there you go, nice and polished. I'm just going to go ahead and continue to wipe it with a paper towel a little bit to get some of the compound off, but you can see how well that polished it up. Certainly not a mirror polish or anything like that, but it does definitely shine. And whenever we start etching this, it's going to make that really stand out a lot. I'm all polished, now I need to start blocking. For this kind of thing, nail polish works great. The problem that I decided that I was going to have with using nail polish this time is that I'm not going to be able to get the detail. But I want to put a lot of detail into it, so I went and I got a oil-based paint pen with a fine point on it. Before I started drawing on my axe and acid etching this, I wanted to make sure that it was actually going to work. So I did a little practice run. You can see that I hand drew a little M there, Marshall Knows Stuff, and just to see if it was going to work, and it looks like it does work just fine. So I am going to use this, but the cleanup is different than the nail polish. The cleanup on this, I found, is lighter fluid. On nail polish, it's an acrylic base, so the acetone works to take it out. Since this is oil based, I found that usually like lighter fluid or gasoline will take that out, and then anything that's water-based alcohol is really good at taking out. So in this one, I've got to use 2 different solvents to be able to remove the blocking material, but I think it's still going to work out. Like it worked out on this one. I blocked the outside of that one with the nail polish, nice big strokes, and then the small areas in there I drew in there just by hand, and it worked out just fine. So I think for what I have planned on the axe, this is going to work out just fine. So I am actually going to be using the nail polish, because this will get the big parts of it done right away. It's gonna move me along a lot faster, and I know that there's large areas of this that I want to block out. So right here along the blade, I'm gonna go ahead and start putting my nail polish, because I want my bevel to stay raised. And I'm also going to go just outside of the bevel because my design is not going to quite reach the bevel. I don't want it to quite reach the bevel. I'm going to come in on it a little bit. So I finished blocking the outside of that. I masked off what I wanted to. But you'll see there's like some rugged edges that I actually want to clean up. And I'll do that with a razor knife. I'll just scrape them off. But in order to do that, the nail polish has to be dry. If it's not dry, then it's just going to scrape it, and I'll end up with more jagged edges. So I'm just going to sit here and drink a beer and wait for it to dry in this hot, hot weather. Okay, my beer's finished, and now I'm going to start just scraping off some of these hard edges. I'm not going to be real careful with it. I think the more rough edges I have, the more rustic it's going to look. But I don't want it to look sloppy either. So there's a little balance there that I'm going to try to hit by scraping some of these edges off. Once I get these edges all cleaned up, then I'm going to start with my drawing. When the drawing gets on there, then it's going to look cherry. We'll go with that. Now that I've got that done, I'm going to go inside and I'm actually going to sit down with pen and paper, and I'm going to be drawing some of these knots. I'm planning on doing Celtic knots, so I need to get real comfy and get to drawing. You'll see what comes next. I'm going to hold this piece of paper up around the axe real quick here to make sure that I get the exact shape of it, because I have such a thin palette to work with on this axe. I don't want to overdo myself and draw outside the lines any. So this will just give me a good idea of how thick I need to make all of my drawings on this. What I'm doing now is the same thing that I do anytime I think that I'm going to be sitting down and drawing Celtic knots real quick. And that's drawing Celtic knots real quick. True, I'm actually just trying to fit some knots into the areas of the axe, and what shapes will work with the flow of the axe overall. I actually wanted to get some zoomorphic all through here, but I don't think I'm going to have enough space though. The overall blade width on the whole axe is actually really thin, so I think all I'm going to be able to fit in any of this is just some knots. I'll see if I can do something fancy over on this side, but I'm just going to keep drawing this way and see how it turns out. Okay, so you can see I have the rest of that crudely closed off. And this is so thin that it's going to be difficult to get any zoomorphic into it. And I was thinking of what would be thin and long that I could get in there, and I think what I might do is do a Celtic snake so that it has a shape somewhat like that, and I can spin it down into the end. So I'm gonna with that idea in mind, I'm gonna see if I can do like a zoomorphic on the way down of a Celtic snake, and that'll be my long, slender snake axe. Okay, so that's the little snake that I freehanded real quick, and I think it works out pretty well. But exactly what I didn't want to happen did happen, and that's the drawing coming out a little bit bigger. I was actually just really kind of freehanding that to see what kind of shapes I wanted all in the axe blade, but my drawing did end up bigger than I actually have on the axe blade. So I'm gonna just start sketching this in here, and I'm gonna just freehand it in. I might remove that little thing because whenever I was going over under on all this, I realized I probably could have just tucked it down into that very point right there. But I kind of like that guy being down there. I just may leave it. So now I'm just going to start sketching all this stuff out. I'm going to freehand it in there, and then we'll be ready to go. I got most of the way through the pattern here. Some pretty cool Celtic knots shaping up on that. But this stupid pen, I've used it not only, just on this one part of this one project, and it's already out of paint. This thing was a piece of crap. It was like $5 too for this one extra fine paint pen, and it didn't do me any good. It got me a little bit of the way, but Deco Color, I'm never gonna buy that again. I'm gonna move on to one of my thicker paint pens. At least I'm on like the thicker part of the knotwork right here. So I'll be able to hopefully lay that down with a different, thicker paint pen, and then just scratch out whatever I need. But I'm gonna continue with that with different pen. Sometimes with Celtic knots, it's easier to just lay down your whole band and then scratch out the pieces where you need. Celtic knots always go over under over under, so you can just pick one. Like I'll pick this one right here. This one will be an underband, so I'll scratch that there, and that makes it go under this one. Since that one went over going this way, it needs to go under coming this way. And so forth. Just go around your whole pattern and take out those individual lines. It's a real quick way to do it. Otherwise, you'll beat yourself up trying to do Celtic knots this way. I'm not saying you're ever going to do Celtic knots, but I've been doing Celtic knots since I was in high school, and that is what I've learned about them. Sometimes it's easier to just lay down one thick solid line and then remove the bits that you need. See how it's starting to look more like a Celtic knot now that I'm scratching out those areas, giving it the depth. So it looks now like it's going over and under itself. Voila. I laid down all the paint that I need. I'm waiting for this to dry now so that I can scratch the areas out that I need. It's still gonna be alright. I mean, I think I just laid it down enough paint to where it'll make up for any of the intricacies of it. I can just scratch it out and it'll still look like it's fine. But that was kind of a pain putting all that on there with the crappy paint pens. Now it's dry time, and then we'll get to scratching, and then we're going to do the actual etching. A lot of prep leading up to it, isn't there? Still waiting. Looks like we're dry enough on this one, so I'm going to go ahead and start scratching out those empty areas. And hopefully the head of the snake also is dry enough to where I can scratch out his eyes and his mouth. So let's continue on. Okay, we're all dry, and I don't want to be interrupted through the rest of this, so I've got all my supplies ready. I've got a stack of cotton rounds and some Q-tips, and this is also a solution that I made of warm water, and it's about half a cup of warm water and 2 tablespoons of salt. I just warm it so that I can mix it and the salt all dissolves in there. This is going to be coupled with a 12-volt charge. Here you see my battery charger. It's a 3 amp or 12 amp battery charger, and it's capable of the 12 volts that it takes to charge a car battery. It's just a car battery charger. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm getting all this stuff set up. I'm going to attach my positive to the axe. Alright, I've got the feed side, the positive feed side of my battery charger attached to the axe itself. what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the negative side and I'm going to put it into the solution and start the battery charger. Once the battery charger turns on, you can hear it start to sizzle and you'll start getting discoloration out of it. Whenever this happens, that's when I switch over to my larger piece because it makes quicker work of this. Okay, I've been after this for about 10 minutes or so, and I think I'm about ready to stop. I've never done a surface like so large with this, and I'm dabbing it back and forth, trying to be very careful of the paint that's on the blade, but I'm still getting some of the paint to rub off. So I'm going to give it a rest for right now. I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to see what it looks like underneath. If worse comes to worse and I don't like it, it should already be etched in there enough to where I can just draw right back over it. With the paint pen, no big deal. So let's get to the exciting part where we start to strip some of this paint off and see what we've got underneath. The blade gets really salinated. You can see like the salt deposits that it puts all over everywhere as you're cooking that salt into the steel. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little bit of water on here and just start taking some of that stuff off. I have a feeling it's not going to be deep enough, but like I said, it'll still be etched in there enough to where I can draw back over it. The first one that I'm going to take off is the oil-based paint with a little bit of starter fluid, lighter fluid. Because if the paint didn't get etched in there enough, then I'll probably just want to leave that outline on it and continue to etch that. Well, it looks like the knots made it in there pretty well. After getting all that paint off there, those look pretty cool. Those definitely made it in there. And polishing that beforehand also paid off. You can see how it's a lot more polished right there to begin with. I'm doing the last finishing touches of cleaning this thing up, and I thought I might want to paint back over it and try to etch it again, because I didn't think it ended up very deep, and every time I do this too, I'm always kind of surprised at how deep the etching goes. But I think I'm going to leave it like that. That actually turned out pretty good. I'm pleased with it. That polish came right through. You can see all the knots. You can even see the snake's face like I wanted you to be able to. This one I don't even think I'm going to end up selling. I think I'm going to hang this one on my wall because I kind of like it. I like the claw design of the blade, and I like the snake running down it and the knot work all throughout. But I think now I'm pretty much done. That ended up being a pretty gratifying project. That ended up super cool, and not a whole lot of effort. You never would have guessed that that would have come from just a lowly railroad spike. All in all, a pretty fun project. Usually by the time I finish one project and I get it out of my system, I don't really feel like doing it again, and I tell myself, I would never do that again, save for a couple of the easy and real gratifying ones. But this actually happens to be one of them. This one was one that I had a lot of fun with, and I probably would do it again. I think for the small amount of effort that I put into just the decoration of the blade, it really makes this piece pop more than any other that I've seen. I've never seen anybody else do a railroad spike like that. If you have any questions about any of the proportions or anything else like that that I used for the etching, I was thinking about it. I realized I may not have given you the different proportions that I used. But just shoot me an email. And remember, like, subscribe, tell your friends, and let's keep knowing some stuff.